record.
It allowed me to record, so I should be good.
Yep, I just got the notification. You're good to go.
Thank you, Tina.
Yep.
So before we start, it's recorded as you just heard, and the reason for that is so either I can play back if you have questions and remember them, or if we have people who couldn't make it, then they can go back and watch it or listen or however. Just we're trying to be as open and transparent with it as we can be. Since we have all of this technology to use, why not use it? They're using it for the board meetings and other public meetings. That's what give it a whirl. But as you can see, sometimes it's kind of touchy. But so I'm Reed Peterson. I work for the county in the Environmental Services Department. I will be replacing Greg in about, how many days did you say you got left? 10?
Yeah, very short timer, yeah. 29th of August, so. Yep.
So we're just gonna jump right in. This is a pretty lax meeting and there's no formal real agenda here. It's just gonna be some information about some changes coming next year. And Greg did make a couple of different Lake Association meetings along with Troy and some others. That hey, there's some changes there's some changes coming. So this is those changes we're talking about. So let's just go for it. Gotta have a clicker, Greg, one day.
Yep, there you go.
So let me. Oh, did we lock up? Why want to hear it? There we go. So we're just gonna start with, yes, yeah.
Talk a lower.
I sure can.
Thank you.
So we'll start with the timeline. So this is a very rough timeline, but we got handed, I mean Greg and I took over solid waste about a year and a half ago. So for that first kind of year, we just kind of said, okay, we don't have a lot of experience in the solid waste world at all, or as the county's program with retirement when Jim retired. So then we decided, okay, let's figure out how this all works, how it all interworks. So we spent about a year figuring all that out. And in the beginning part, because we were so new, the county board said, hey, I think this should be a committee with some people who've been around a while or who do know some about solid waste. So then they formed a solid waste committee shortly after we started doing solid waste. So in July, which is only a month ago, we went to the board and said, hey, the solid waste committee has been working on a plan to try and clean up some of the just things over the decades and decades have kind of got really complicated or messy. So they're trying to clean it up and make things a little more fair. So we have these three wonderful, some would call them taglines. So we're trying to make things fair, which is also an easy way to say equitable. Everybody is as fair as we can get. That's what we'd like to try to be. It's all volume based, so if you all pay for the same thing, the same. And try to make it simple so we can easily talk about it together and nobody's left in the dark or confused, or you come with one question and you leave with more, that's never a good time for me or you. So there's gonna be a fancy little arrow that's gonna pop up and say where we are at. So we are in August. All of you got a letter a couple weeks ago. And then now we are at the stage here where we have our public meeting. So this is just an informational meeting. There's gonna be no decisions or nothing like that. No formal, nothing. It's pretty lax. So then I'm gonna go to the next slide here. So that committee I talked about involves two commissioners, and your two that are on it are Troy here and then Ken in the twin snap in the back. And then we have a township rep, which is Dan Gerke, who is the township clerk. And then we have a city, which is the city of Barrett, is Marita. She clerks there. And at a last city clerks meeting we had about 6 months ago, they said, hey, she is our rep. She's the most, she's been around a long time. So she's been helping with that. And then we have Greg, who is the director. And then with me coming on here shortly, Greg had me be a part of it. And then Tina is on it now since we have our report county coordinator, since it impacts quite a few different departments. And then Chad, our auditor, since he's been around a long time, had a lot of experience with all the assessments or how things have worked in the past with budgets and that kind of thing. And then Carl, he's our assessor. He helped with a lot of those mapping things that we did, where it shows, okay, this person is a homestead, this one's non-homestead, and how it affects that assessment. So we have him, and then when we need, we bring guys in like our hauler Ingebrigtsen, which Troy Ingebrigtsen is the owner of that, so we bring him in when we got questions or when we need. So It's a pretty good little group that makes so all of us kind of bounce ideas and say, here's the direction we're gonna go, and we get a lot of different opinions, a lot of different voices, so. So I'm gonna start with the county as a whole. In Grant County, there are basically three options you get your solid waste done. You either live in town and you got a cart and they roll by on whatever day of the week it is and pick it up. Pretty straightforward. Or you live on the lake on these, what they call mandatory routes, which means the contractor is mandatorily required to pick up your garbage at that place. There's no contract with the hauler, nothing like that. It's all done through your taxes. So that is this one, and the reason, I'll get there just a second, why there's a pile of garbage, not a cart. And then the third is the non-mandatory, which are all those who don't live on the lake, who are just out in rural areas. They contract directly with the hauler, so we have three different ways you do garbage. And we're gonna talk about this one here in the middle. So the reason there's a big pile of garbage there is because technically in the contract, you could back up your whole semi truck worth of garbage, and they are mandatorily required to pick that up. And we've received, I don't know, Greg, how many, 3, 4, 5 calls at least of people saying, hey, my neighbors just unloaded the whole box of pickup truck at the end of their driveway. And then we get the same call from the hauler saying, hey, just so you know, there's a whole truck box full of garbage here, along with odds and ends that shouldn't be in the garbage to start with. And right now, that kind of all gets absorbed into the county's solid waste. It's pretty unfair if you are the ones who have to use a cart, or you only, put out your one bag compared to your neighbor's 15 bags. So this was the problem we're trying to solve to start with. So there are 4 options when you get to that mandatory route. You either already rent a cart from Ingebrigtsen. You came, got your place and said, hey, I want a cart. I don't want to have to buy one somewhere, or I don't want to have to do option 3, which is pile your stuff at the end of the driveway. Or you have a community dumpster. There's quite a bit of subdivisions where there is no way you could get a garbage truck down that road in the good times of the year, let alone the winter, let alone the spring when it's wet and mucky. And then the other option is you take it back to your place where you live, or you drive it to a different landfill outside the county. So with what we're talking about here, there's going to be 4 different things that pop up over these pictures. So we'll just start with this one. This one is the self-haul. So you can still take the garbage wherever you want. You can still put it in your car and drag the bag wherever the heck you want. We aren't gonna tell you not, but through the assessment, even now, it's that way, you still pay the assessment, even if you do self-haul, because it's still, there's a chance that you could just pile it in your driveway and they have to pick it up. So this next one is those bags. This has caused, like we just talked, all those issues with just people piling it up like crazy. And it makes it pretty unfair, and also we get quite a bit of problems with garbage blowing around, or animals getting in it, or those cattle lines are getting buried in the snow. So that's what we're saying, we don't want to do that anymore. We're one of the last counties in the state that still kind of allows you to just chuck it out on the end of your driveway, and then the driver has to get out of the truck, pick it all up, like all of you have seen, and get back in the truck. Which, one, that's a lot of extra time work for that driver than really should be needed. And 2, you drive by any time where it's crappy out and he's out of the truck, you don't see him, it's an accident waiting to happen. If we can avoid people getting run over on our roads, that's kind of a no-brainer. The second option when you have on these routes is the community dumpsters. There will be no change to those people. If you use a dumpster, I apologize, you should not be here. I didn't delete you off the list, but I don't think any of you have a community dumpster that I was aware of. So we're all good there.
Sandy Point, Point Comfort,
Those are 2
good
2
examples.
of them, Sunset Ridge, and there's a couple others, but most of those are the roads just can't handle a truck at most of the time of the year. And then this is what we're kind of pushing the rest of you guys for. It says rent a cart to the hauler, but the county will be the one renting the cart, because otherwise it ended up, Ingebrigtsen was gonna have to bill all of you, and it got real complicated really fast for the turnaround time. And that's not what we wanted to do. And since all of you are already paying that solid waste assessment on your taxes, we thought that would be the easiest route, is just add that right onto the taxes. No big deal, nothing changes for you other than now there's a cart. So that'll go to the next one here. So again, we're trying to do things equitable, volume, simplified. We're trying to make it easier. it's fair, only you can't put a whole truckload of garbage inside this cart, it only fits what it fits. It's volume based, cause that cart is only one size and everybody has that size. And it's a lot simpler than, okay, you can do that one, your neighbor does that one, you do that one. It's not all over the board, this is the option.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. yeah.
On option number 3, what's the end result of that garbage then?
The driver gets up, the same as with the cart, the end result, it goes in the truck.
So he does pick it up.
Yeah, they do, but they have issues with bags breaking, bags leaking, garbage.
Right. But they don't leave it there.
No,
So
right
then-
now, they will pick it up through the end of the year still.
Okay,
We're hoping they should have their carts later in the year here and then they get them out to all of you. So we're just kind of dependent on ordering, and if you've ordered anything recently, we're still dealing with some delays or some not, but we'll see.
so there might be some that do that and it's still gonna get picked up.
Yes, until everybody has the carts and they're all available, then it will go away, because this is an outdated way of doing things. It just doesn't work and it causes a whole lot of
Well,
problems.
critters get into it and then it's a mess for everybody.
Yeah, and then it's all over the road ditch and the guy with the mower comes by and shreds it to 1,000 pieces, and it's in your front yards, it's in the lake, it's in everywhere. Yeah,
We have the brown container garbage cans.
yes,
Okay, they wouldn't be used and you'd go to
like
the
a
option 1 then?
yes, you go to an Ingebrigtsen cart, and the reason we went that route is if the cart breaks, the cart blows over, the cart disappears. You wouldn't think they disappear, but they do. Then Ingebrigtsen comes, grabs you a new one, drops it off, and away you go. Then you're not responsible for, oh, your lid's broke, your wheel's broke, your whatever's broke. The county's not responsible for storing the 700 carts you had to order. So they had to order them in a semi-truckload, and we only need 400 to 500, so that was 200 extra that. I don't have a county building that I think can hold that many carts that isn't being used.
And if a wheel breaks on it, or the lid breaks, or anything like that, you call Ingebrigtsen, they bring you a different one. We don't have to have wheels on hand, we don't have to have lids on hand, we don't have to come out and fix it or replace it, you don't have to do that, you call Ingebrigtsen.
Can I call Reed so he calls it?
I sure will.
Yeah.
If you call me, I will.
Yeah.
That's just as easy too.
Spot on.
All the same.
Rudy sorted through that one, didn't he?
I figured Rudy would, but. Yes, again.
Explain to the people that volume-based, the volume-based concept's been around for a long time. And that's why in the cities you see consistent numbers. Explain that, and I can't remember when that come in, but it hasn't been applied to option 3, obviously, but it's been around.
Yep.
For many years.
So the volume-based concept, it's basically you pay for what you get rid of. So in the cities pay for their portion of the county's overall solid waste. How many tons the city creates, that's the percentage they're paying for. In the non-mandatory routes, those that are not on the lakes, they pay for whatever size container that they want. So if they want a cart that's 65 gallons, they're paying for that. They want a 10-yard dumpster, they're paying for that size volume. On the rural routes, like we said, you could pile the whole bag of garbage, or you can have one bag. And it was the same. And that's one of the big issues. Yes,
Now, this option 1,
yes,
now, will that cost us any more money than what we're doing now?
yes, it will.
Because we're already assessed on our taxes.
Yes,
But will that stay the same, but it will increase?
it will go up, yes, to cover the cost of that cart rental, which we're getting to here in just a couple of slides. And that is the bottom line. That's why we wanted this meeting. That's why we wanted to talk.
So are you changing trucks? So now they can pick this up?
All of their trucks can do this already. All their trucks can grab the carts and go. So there's the hauler doesn't have to change trucks, doesn't have to do any of the other getting out of the truck, grabbing bags that shred, none of that. That's the whole,
So how much more is this gonna cost?
it costs $2 a month, so $24 a year total more. Yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, not a lot, but still more,
And that starts in
We're-
January.
yes,
What about the people that have already rented their cart? I did,
Yep. yes.
in the middle of the year, is that gonna be prorated then?
We have to figure out how we wanna do that. There's a couple different ways to go about it and. We're working with Inger Bretzen on what would work best for them, not to disrupt all their billing system or not to mix up all of our stuff either. We're gonna work our way through that part. This was more just to get the info out to you that, hey. These are coming, and then we'll get there, but there's gonna be a second one that says, hey, carts are gonna be coming. The week of whatever, or the month in the next couple of weeks. If you do A, B, or C, you already rented, or you already do this, then there'll be the options there. So, like we were saying, this is for those who don't use the dumpsters. If you do, this doesn't affect you, nothing changes. So we're gonna go to a 65 gallon cart. And the reason for 65 is a 35 is pretty small and 95 is pretty large. And when we were discussing what size should we do with our hauler Ingebrigtsen, he said most of the cities and most of the rural people we deal with, 65 is kind of the sweet spot. And we relied on, they've been in business for 40, 50 years. So we figured they got a lot more knowledge on the sizing than we would anyways. So that's why we went with 65. And like we said, the county will rent them and then they'll be assessed through the taxes. That is the plan right now, and that's the simplest way to do it. Which goes to that 3 of simplifying things. And like I said, it's $2 a month times the whole year is $24 a year.
But don't, so that is, we unknown right now.
Yes.
The mandated rural routes percentage of the overall garbage, there may be a change in the percentage that rural has, so that your fee per month or for the year may go up or down based on that total, your share of the total tonnage. That's the same as it's always been, but that amount might change a little bit, so we're disclosing, there may be a change there on top of that 24.
Yeah, it could go to 268, 260, 250, right, it'll, somewhere in that spot, but it's not like it's gonna double or go in half.
Right.
Right, but that's a good point.
There's a deal coming for that too,
Okay.
in just a minute here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take 2 minutes and just talk those assessments. Everybody sees them on their taxes, but I'm not sure everybody gets what they pay for. So what they are is you're paying for the disposal cost of that garbage is what you're paying for, the pickup of the garbage, the hauling it to, right now it all goes to Pope Douglas and turns into fuel for waste energy. They burn it in their big burners. So you're paying for that. And then you also have, just like the rest of the parcels, of 40 out of that, whatever you pay, $40 comes off the top of that, that goes towards recycling. Because the state says we have to have a recycling program and that's how we use to fund it, so everybody ends up covering the cost to do that. And then there is a tax, because we are collecting money to pay for solid waste, we have to pay a tax to the state, which is the 9.75% is what the state calls, so it's taxed on that solid waste disposal cost minus the $40. So we collect that and pass it directly to the state. We don't use any of it, it goes right to them. So, and the solid waste assessment goes on 5 types of properties. Home, non-home, special non-home, and then commercial. Commercial is pretty straightforward, it's a commercial business that is in Lake Shore, so they get that, and there's only less than a half a dozen that are listed that way. And we use the assessor's office to help us figure that stuff out. Home versus non-home, home is, it's your full-time, you live there homestead, as classified by the assessors. Non-home is the opposite, it's a seasonal house, or you don't live there as your primary residence. Special home means you live there full-time, but the county says you have to use a dumpster because you have that community dumpster. And it's the same as special non-home. You don't live there full-time, but you have to use that dumpster, so then you get a discounted rate because you can't go out and get a cart, there's no option for that. So then the county takes a little off the top to help that. So, like Troy was saying, in 25, those were the rates. And he's saying right now, the part we know for 26 increase is that $2 a month cart, so that's $24 a year. What we don't know is how much of the total solid waste percentage that the mandatory routes are covering. We don't know what that percentage will be till January, I suppose. Or December, we can estimate for next year. So in 26, the rate will be the 25 rate plus what it costs for the rental, and plus or minus if there's an increase, but if we shy on the side of increase, then nobody's blindsided, hopefully. Cause I don't know about you, but I don't know anything that's gone down in price much. Or stayed the same for a number of years, so. That is what this little asterisk here is about, is it's unknown what that increase will be. And if you, yeah,
Say we pay sales tax on that rental also.
I don't think you paid on the rental. It's only on the disposal piece.
Okay,
And I will double check, but I'm pretty sure that's.
and that's included in the, like, the
Yeah.
whole rate, okay?
Yeah. Yep, and. Their rates have stayed the same for a couple of years now. I don't think they've changed in a little while since before we did solid waste. So at least 2 years they've stayed, yeah,
Somebody talks about on here the recycling assessment.
Yep.
Do we ever get the opportunity to have stuff out for recycling?
no, the curbside deal, you're talking, so in town, they have curbside where everybody comes and they pick it up at your house. There's just isn't enough tonnage or enough. Material out there to have that at every lake place or seasonal place or. So then what that $40 helps pay for are those in all the towns, there are rural drop sites where you see the big. Containers with the, now they have the trapezoid sides, that's what those help pay for. And it also helps pay for things down at recycling center here in town to try and keep the prices there basically at cost or lower. To help dispose of some of the things like e-waste, batteries, TVs, that kind of things, appliances. That's what that 40 is used to pay for.
But don't discount that. That may be something to talk about in the future.
Yeah,
Because some of the bigger lakes in our neighboring counties are starting to do that. Where they actually, the landowners, everybody on Pelican Lake wants to have, right? Then you guys could band together as a lake association and suggest we'd like curbside pickup for our recycling. But recognizing that it's probably gonna be costing a little more.
Well, even
Right.
to send something out with the tax assessments that says, I
We-
don't know if you know this, but you can take your
we
recyclables into town.
we can't.
Oh,
The state said the only thing that can be in that envelope where you get your taxes is your taxes.
okay.
No other anything. They canceled that, was a state deal, I don't know why they did it, but that's just what they did. So if we did it, we'd have to do a separate mailing to all of it, which is fine too, but
Well, we do have stuff on our website.
we do have stuff on the website,
Yeah.
or if you call, I
Right.
talk as long as you wanna talk on whatever you wanna talk about.
So we get charged $40 a year for recycling?
That's built in.
That's built into that
64.
assessment, yeah.
But the rest of the folks. Outside of the mandatory, get us another $40 tacked on.
On their taxes, or if you live in town, the cities collect it from each house with their curbside part.
About the importance of the recycling and the percentage.
So by 2035, we have to recycle 35% by volume, by weight. Of our total solid waste, so we have 1,000 tons, 350 of those have to be recycled. So that's plastic bottles, cardboard, glass, tin, aluminum, those kind of things. And right now, we're in that 30-ish, 32%-ish. So we're hoping here that we should make it with a couple improvements across things we do and at Pope Douglas there, so, but
And that's to qualify for score dollars.
that is to qualify to get money back from that solid waste management tax, that almost 10% that we pay, the state kicks back a percentage of that to the counties. It's a very small percentage of that. I think we get 3 or 5% of the 100% they take, so it's not much and it doesn't cover what it needs to, but.
But without it, you can be at 34% when we hit that deadline and we won't get the money. So,
And that number is, used to be 60-some thousand, now what is it?
Right now, we got, so before their increase, we got about 70-ish.
Yep.
And then for the last year and the coming year, we'll get about 80.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's a little gray whether or not they'll keep up with the increase or if that will go away. It's all legislatively appropriated and
Those numbers are for the county.
the county as a whole, yeah.
So most of the people in this room probably didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, most of the people in the county don't know that.
probably not.
So if that's the case,
how are you ever going to meet that unless you tell people, how are you gonna do that?
So I don't,
And put numbers
yeah,
there, you know, saying we get 60,000 or,
Yep.
you know, approximately back.
so right now, the only deal is, I don't wanna derail this deal with recycling, but. There's some different, they're using a lot of robots and some fancy cameras at where we put our solid waste. To pull additional percentages out of our solid waste, so they pull out cardboard, they're pulling out the milk jugs, those big bulky items that are already in the trash. And that's gonna give us a pretty decent chunk increase. That should almost cover the 35 or meet the 35 enough to be the state for what they want.
But
So,
the other piece of that too, Pat, is we're trying to ramp up the educational component of this too, right? That's one of the,
Yeah, cause
One of our
I
objectives,
wouldn't
so-
know that.
yeah, right.
and then,
And that's the flyers and the educational stuff that we'll continue to work on.
yeah, and remember Greg and I only got all this info about a year and a half ago. So we went from no info at all, none. We were just like anybody off the street. And then it was, here's your program, here's everything. And then as the year has gone, we've learned more, we've figured things out. We went, okay, we are only at 32 or 3%. We need to get to 35 by this time. So,
Yeah, Pat, education, you're right, we've gotta do a better job educating the public on the recycling part of it.
Yeah.
The organics, we're working on getting more organic, so that counts towards our recycling weight, and that's the heavy stuff, that's the food. So that will count towards our weight. And then Pope Douglas has added a bunch of technology, so when the garbage is dumped tip, it runs through conveyors and they can pick aluminum cans out of there without people doing anything because the sensors recognize it's aluminum. And they've got air that'll throw it off the belt, so it's not going into the incinerator, and we will get credit for that weight, so. We can get to that 35%, it's just, we're not gonna necessarily overshoot it by our deadline. But yes, the education part is as important as any of it, yes.
So that 35% read,
yes,
does that need to be you for the year, or does that need to be hit once for a month?
no, yearly. As a year total for the year, you need to have 35%.
Your annual tonnage.
And then every year, you're gonna have to be 35% to be eligible for that score money. Which there's a big long acronym there, but it basically just means recycling money that they give to help offset the cost.
So if I take my recycling into Ashby.
Yep.
And put it in, I gotta find where those dumpsters are,
Yeah.
but if I put it in there.
Yep.
That counts?
That does count.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes a huge difference.
Yep.
Right, where are those dumpsters, or those recycling in Ashby?
And Ashby-
Right at City Hall. Right, yeah, right by the water treatment there.
Look for those things, cause I
Yeah.
live on the lake,
Yeah.
so you don't think that you can use
And-
town stuff.
Yeah, yep.
And
Town stuff.
we can have,
Those things are intended for the folks in the country and on the lakes.
and there's some
Yep.
talks too, you know, like Tips on the Mountains has enough people and enough traffic. That they, from, I think it's April through October, they have one of those recycling trailers parked by the golf course there. That's because they have enough people with the golf course and with the rest of them to have that. If there are other spots on Pelican or anywhere else that would make sense and not, you know, dramatically increase costs. Those are things we wanna talk about. But right now, we really wanna go back to the carts. But I think this is all good, but the carts is where we wanna kind of roll today, because recycling is a down the road thing we're getting to here.
What are the chances, Reed, of you keeping Tips Mounds recycling containers there instead of April through October? Can you work some solution or some way to keep it open so we don't have, those of us that live out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we bring it all into town here.
Yep.
Now it just compounds the problem here in town, cause when we come, the trailers are full.
Yeah.
Both of cardboard, they got
Yeah.
multiple cardboard
Yeah, you got
stations
the three and
and
then
multiple trailers.
two
And
trailers.
they're full.
Yeah, which is a good thing that they're full. We can talk about how to do it. I wasn't around when and why they decided April through October. But if we can, I have a sneaking suspicion it has to do with snow and who maintains that spot.
Granted,
So then somebody has to be there to do that work, and I don't know what the discussions were. at that
Well,
time.
at one time, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was more seasonal. The whole area out there was more
it's not
seasonal.
seasonal anymore.
Right, what I'm saying though is it was only that way because that was when the seasonals were coming.
Yeah.
Where now it's not seasonal and It's worth the conversation.
It is very heavily used.
Yeah.
And that committee that we showed, it is on the radar, because we've been talking about this quite a bit. Especially with the system here in Elbow Lake, it's every Monday it's pump full, and then some. People are getting frustrated.
You gotta remember the one out the golf course started at 82.
Yeah, it's been there a long time.
Yeah.
But it's being very well utilized.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just something that needs to be addressed every once in a while.
Right, which is what we're trying to do.
And that's all, you know, county government doesn't go very fast. Just, which is a good thing because it gives people opportunities to say, comment and talk. But it's also a detriment because it takes us a while to get to where we're going.
The nice thing about that, when you take a step forward, you don't have to back up.
That's the hope. So try to avoid one step forward, two step back things.
With communication.
Which is the whole point of
Tonight,
this and the letter and another one that will come. So
The containers that need to be replaced, you know, versus the trailers, that must be damn near double the volume.
they are quite a bit bigger. The only caveat with them is since they are bigger, they're a little taller. So it may be a little more difficult to dump stuff in there, but there's not real good solutions for that.
They're still full.
Yeah,
I just went down here, stacked to the rafters and there's stuff on the ground,
yeah, I've seen that.
so they gotta
Yep.
address that. Or it's blowing over.
Don't be wrong, like,
Sure.
and it's important not to put any plastic bags in recycling. They tell you.
It gets bound up in all the conveyors and all the sorters and all the separators. Basically, if you were to run over a rope or twine with your lawnmower and it wraps around the thing, that's what you're doing. It's not good. So,
And they won't, so then if you have a load of recycling like that and it's full of plastic bags, they just take it from the recycling line and put it over into the garbage line, and now we just lost all that weight. to
all that
recycle.
credit.
There again, it's gotta be communication, because I've seen a lot of bags, I've seen, come into town here, there'll be bags of garbage. You could tell it's not recycling and stuff like that, so. The more that you put out there on how much can be saved, which saves us also as taxpayers,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
like I said, you gotta put numbers in there,
Mhm.
so people realize how much extra money they're being charged.
yeah. I agree. So I'm gonna move kind of towards the end here. Just, you know, all the carts did get ordered. They are kind of a 12 to 16 week lead time. They come from the south in pieces. They get delivered in a big semi truck and then somebody's gotta basically assemble every single one of them. So that is again why we rented them and not had the county have to pay somebody to now assemble 500 carts. So they're hoping they should be here October, November. Which then, as soon as they get them here and have them together, we're gonna start rolling, delivering them. So you won't have to drive to town or drive somewhere and pick up a cart. It'll show up at your place, at that address. Here's your cart, away you go.
There is one question or
Yes.
comment that I have, and I think everybody out where we are anyway, when they come by with their garbage trucks, I realize they're in a hurry, and the only thing is they let them too far out in the road, like in the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's gotta come in. I mean, they can't just set it out like right next to that tar
Mm.
because they're gonna get run over.
Mm.
They just
Well,
set
the
them,
traffic out there can slow down, Pat.
pardon me?
The traffic out there can slow down. They don't have to drive on, you know, that's another.
I understand that. But
Conversation.
I'm just saying, it's still. When you got two cars coming and we got walkers out there, and sometimes that early in the morning, that's when somebody's gonna get hurt.
Maybe that's something we put in the little letter we send, that here's the appropriate spot to locate that dumpster.
Yep, and.
Yep.
And
This is where we'd like to see them,
The cart.
the car coming back.
not the
Yeah.
dumpster.
I always call them dumpsters.
Yeah.
I can do that.
I'm not delivering dumpsters, so, no,
It's a cart.
got two wheels and a handle.
Yeah.
I got a question, who's tipping them over with the snowplow trucks? Anybody? Or is they driving around them, or how's that all working when you guys are taking them in and out of your garages?
I don't pay attention, that's Mark's job.
Well,
To be
I
honest,
think myself.
So,
to be honest, Bill, out in our area, the plow usually is coming by 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so that.
Because there is people that work in town, so they come and plow that area. Around the golf course.
Before the carts come out.
Well, not necessarily, a lot of carts are out there the night before.
We put ourselves
Oh,
on,
the truck comes about around 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday.
sometimes 6:30.
Yep.
So the location would be important then.
Yeah,
So I live in town, have for 5 years, I put mine right out on the curb and everything, and I think once I've had the snowplow tip it over, but that's after the guy who's already picked it has gone through, so. And I haven't heard the last one, we didn't hear anything from anybody saying, hey, the plow driver smoked my cart, or if that happens and your cart is now broken in pieces, call Ingebrigtsen, they bring you a new one. Away it goes.
The thing is, around where we're at, we don't have curbs.
Yeah, that's our
Okay,
part.
so that's,
a little confusing.
So it's a little
yeah, so
hard.
that's why I think just being able to, if,
Use-
to
yeah.
pull it back, or then when they take it off, I don't know how they do this, but.
Yeah, it's an automated arm that grabs, dumps, and then,
And puts it back in the same place, but.
yeah,
I mean, it needs to be off the tar.
yeah.
Just a comment
Yeah.
about, you've got your second letter that's coming out in October and November.
Hopefully, yeah,
You should probably add on to that, because some people are snowbirds.
yeah,
So maybe add a thing that have your neighbor, pick
Yeah.
yours up and put it somewhere, or it's gonna be
Yeah.
a mess.
So yeah, so the question
Yeah.
becomes, those that are snowbirds, I assume you
Yeah,
have.
but he won't know who's.
No. Well, I got a decent idea from the list who's a snowbird and who isn't, but. Most of the snowbirds seem to have their mail forwarded or it doesn't always go to your property address, those letters, it goes to what address the county has on file for your taxes. So you may be a snowbird and your taxes are wherever the heck they get sent. Cause that's kind of the address we have access to, cause there are plenty of places that have E911 addresses, those blue signs, but no mailboxes. So that's why we use that tax address.
So we'll know when they're gonna drop off.
That is,
You're probably not around in October.
unfortunately not, that's just how this timing worked.
Yep.
So,
So what I'm hearing is that, and I don't know who's gonna deliver them.
Ingebrigtsen is,
Okay, so we should ask them not to leave them at the end of the driveway, but leave them off these.
into the driveway a little ways.
Yes.
Yeah, not right on the blacktop driveway edge, yeah, which I'm sure we can tell them. And they've been really good, we have had very minimal things that have come up, so, yeah.
We live on a private road and, there's 3 of us that are year round. And we put our cluster together, so do each one of our cards have a specific number for us? Or are they different?
No, they're all the same cart.
But I think they all have a unique ID number on them.
Do that, yeah, I've
They-
never
they
looked,
do.
I'm looking at the carts, I'm assuming they have some kind of number, but I don't actually know.
Is that number tracked though?
Not by the county, no, but
No.
by Ingebrigtsen, I assume they have some kind of way to track inventory in and out and.
Right.
Yeah, so it sounds like there's, I didn't know that part, that there was numbers on the cards, I just.
Well, I saw in the
You could
picture.
maybe put a sticker on each one of your guys or something.
Well, yeah, I
You
said,
know,
yeah, we should do somehow identifying, or just put them in the order, like we're right next, there's Man Cabin, they're seasonal. And then it's us, and then it's Robin Sue, and then it's Strands, and so we should just put them.
Yeah.
In that order.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So basically, all we have coming is you'll get that letter that says, hey, these are coming out in the mail, they're coming out to be delivered about this timeline. And then the other part we have to work on a little bit is what that rate will be. We know it's gonna be the $2 a month, so $24 a year. And then whether or not the rates go up or down depends on tonnage and what we pay at Pope Douglas and that kind of thing.
One thing, excuse me, Reed, one thing
Yes.
you haven't touched on, I haven't heard it you say, what if we want multiple carts? What if we
You-
want 2 carts?
If you want 2 carts, I
How
think
is that, how does
Yeah.
that bill?
the idea right now would be that you would be billed from Ingebrigtsen for that additional cart. To simplify it on the county end, otherwise we're having to figure out on your taxes how to bill you additionally for that one. And the additional weight. And then all of a sudden you changed your mind that, oh, 2 carts is too much from January to whenever, and I wanted a third here, a third there. We aren't set up that way as far as your taxes, you're hit twice a year. So then it would really only allow you to change your mind twice. Versus,
Well, we only send out once though.
well, but we only mail it once, but you pay first year and second.
Yeah, but we don't change.
Correct,
We do.
they're the same.
it would get complicated on the county's end, So like we said, the solution is then you work directly with Ingebretson. And you would be just like a non-mandatory route out in the country, and you would pay directly to Ingebretson for your next 65 gallon. If you wanted to, you work with the hauler exclusively.
So if we,
Which is.
what I'm hearing you share with us is. I'll just use me as an example, if I wanted a second cart. I have to work with Ingebretson on that charge,
On that one, yeah, cause it's not
so it's not gonna, the assessment wouldn't go from $2 to $4.
correct. You'd pay
Well,
that,
you would be paying for the whole canister.
Okay, take the holidays, Troy,
Yep,
you got family home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Or Thanksgiving, there's a lot that's accumulated.
yep.
It isn't gonna fit
Well,
in.
but what I'm
So now you
saying though
gotta
is,
keep it for the next week.
which is what I have to do in town. If my cart's too full, I have to stack it next to my garage all winter,
That ought
or
to smell nice.
in the winter, it's fine, it freezes, which is when most of your holidays are.
I realize that.
But the idea is
I also
also
like
that
it.
volume base, right?
but it wouldn't be
It's fair
the
for
additional,
everybody.
we're going to a volume base, so it wouldn't be the additional $2, and I don't know what Engelbertson charges for a 65. I can tell you for a 95 gallon picked up twice a month is $30 a month, so it's $360 just for garbage. For the year, it's not the 260 plus 24, and then you gotta take the 40 back off of it, so if you're getting a non-mandatory container, it gets expensive.
And Troy's a prime candidate of you are paying for garbage by itself, and then he gets that $40 assessment for recycling too,
Yep.
separately on his taxes. So he's contracted directly with the hauler as a non-mandatory customer. And he pays whatever that rate is that was set in the contract that we have with Ingebretson. Cause Grant County is very unique, we only allow one hauler across the whole county. If you look around, you've only seen Ingebretson pick up garbage in the county. Maybe on the very edges of the county, you might have somebody else who comes in for a house or here or there. But for the most part, Ingebretson is the only one. And the reason is, we only allow one. And the reason for that is you have places like Norcross or Wendell that would not get service, or out in North Ottawa or Lawrence. Nobody would drive out there to pick up their 65 gallon cart twice a month, because there'd be no money in it. Where this way, we get one hauler, he picks all of it, and there's enough weight to justify it.
And you don't want 4 trucks running on
No.
those roads out there every week.
I would imagine you'd be able to order, if you're working with Engelbretson, you'd be able to possibly order, say, for 2 months, and they would maybe drop off.
Ingebretson, you could work with them in that part, yeah.
Oh,
And that's the part the counties doesn't want to be in the middle of, because it just doesn't fit with the system that the counties run. And that's how all of the other counties in the state pretty much operate, is you contact your hauler, you're billed right from them. It's not on your taxes, the way we do it. So I'm just gonna go back to those 3 deals here. We're trying to make this system a lot more fair than all this complicated circles, which is that 3, trying to make it simple, so it's easy to understand. And then that volume base, that's where we're going to the cart. We get away from piles of garbage that are not fair at all. So we kind of doing this the whole time, which I like, because then it makes it go good. But is there anybody got any other questions they want to talk?
Does
Pat?
Engelbretson send out, I guess I don't recall. I know we used to put solid waste stuff and recycling in the tax statements. when I worked up there.
So the county used to be able to send those out. But then the state last year or the year before said that the only thing in that envelope with your taxes is your taxes, nothing else.
Right,
So if we did a separate mailing on recycling, which we've talked about, but a lot of times what happens is it ends up in the garbage. So then our idea to give you more info ends up in the trash, so then it's kind of a losing battle, and it's quite expensive to mail recycling.
well, they used to send out a sheet of paper
Yeah.
that said, this is,
This is what it is, yep, on 2-sided, yep.
yeah, on 2 sides.
And we do,
Again, okay, that's communication.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
when we're not getting that, we're not gonna know.
Mhm.
How do you find out something like that?
and right away, Greg and I didn't know that they even sent those out, and we didn't find out until this go around's tax statements. And then when we said, oh, can we pack onto there, that's when we found out they can't go out together. There would have to be a separate mailing, a separate everything.
Or we're trying to do a full page ad in the paper.
There's full page
Got
ads.
stuff on our website, but it, that's part of that committee conversation. Maybe it warrants spending $1,000 to
That's
send
a,
out a flyer to everybody in the county.
that's a low end.
We used to send the stuff out, we weren't supposed to put it in either,
Yeah,
and we just put it in. I mean, it's hard to know, I mean,
I-
state of Minnesota.
You're right. I
You
agree
know,
with you, but
So, yeah, we did
Yeah.
that because we put a statement on the back also
Yeah.
that had to be approved by somebody at the state level, and we just printed it on the back side of the envelope.
Yeah.
So,
Even just to put something in the Facebook pages.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
and that's part of our try to help get those out, is you use that. I think those are gonna get used a lot more now than they have in the past. So especially with, now that we have Tina on board, and between her and a couple others, we can really use those. Now that we got a good avenue to go.
And this is just a comment.
Yeah.
We're seasonal,
Yeah,
and we probably put out garbage 5 or 6 times a year.
yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to have a drop box where we could just, down by the landing or something, throw it in. And then not even get a cart. And I realize you're trying to make, you already got 3 options, which
Yeah.
is.
and so there's about a little over 400 rural customers on the routes that are gonna have to get carts between 400 and 500. It'll vary based on if you already rent a cart, there's opportunity to just keep the cart you're already renting. And then we would just roll it into the taxes, so, but. It gets hard to, we gotta have drop boxes for all 400. Gets a little complicated, a little cumbersome, or,
And then you get other people throwing it in there.
yeah, and then it's kinda like if you have a dumpster out in the middle of nowhere, that thing gets used and abused by anybody with a car who drives by.
Kevin's extra bags at holiday.
Sure.
He just drives through it all.
He's a fun guy. Spread out.
Whereas that's kinda all I had, unless you guys have any more on this.
Well, is it clear as mud? Makes sense, right?
Kind of a question and a comment. I don't think, our example, we showed that big pile of bags. Generally, our mandatory people have not abused the system, would you say?
Generally, no, but
So our people have had a normal amount of season, that was more of an example. than-
Yeah, that was an extreme, but it was to make a point.
to make a point that if you wanted, that's what you can do, you can back it up and.
Well, just so you know, those $40 really helped out fix our recycling center down there and Blacktop, and those dollars come full circle to help. Level service, it don't get any better.
Up by night.
It needed to happen.
There would be a sign for it, that would be better. Yeah, that's
kind of yours. Right now, with everybody planning and stuff, and you've got, or like doing sweet corn, you've got all that going in, you've got water.
Yep.